hopefully you've been talking to your manager about things like the levels document and titles, and maybe there's some information floating out there about what Intrepid is doing about that. How do I take the next step in my career, and what are the different paths I can take? So I realized that the last time we did a full company lecture on this was actually like a year and a half ago, and we have a lot of new people since then. So before we actually do this, I figured it was a good time to just kind of all get together as a group, get alignment on how we're thinking about things, where we are currently, and what our kind of thinking is. So I'm going to start with some history, just how Intrepid got to where it is today, and how we kind of thought about career advancements. So at the very beginning of Intrepid, it was completely flat. There was no hierarchy. It was just a completely flat organization, except for Mark. Mark was at the top. 2012, this is just the beginning of 2012 when I joined the company. Intrepid was 14 employees. The iPhone 4 was all of the rage with its really short screen, but it was like magnificent phone. Gangnam Style was really, really popular. I know you guys have now heard that since 2012. 65% of Intrepid at that time, so 9 of the 14 employees, it was their first job. Really just struggling with how do I do this iOS development thing, which that's all we were. We did a little tiny bit of it. And not so much worried about what's the next step in my career. There weren't many role models of, oh, there's somebody later in their career than me. It was sort of everybody learning together and growing together, but mostly worried about just executing and doing the work. When I interviewed with Mark, he described the company as having only 3 titles, and there would only ever be 3 titles, he said. Developer, designer, and founder. 3 titles, and he told me that was the end-all, be-all. That was all there would ever be. Of course, he was wrong, because I got hired as the CTO. When I took the title of CTO, I had absolutely no idea what it meant. I had no idea what the role definition was. I knew it sounded fancy. I knew it was a step up from my senior architect that I had just randomly put on LinkedIn at my last job. But there was no real clear definition about what that was. And my job has changed a lot over 4.5 years. And I'm happy that I took the title. I think it forced me to grow into what it actually is. But already, 2 years in and 14 people, we were changing. The company was 15 people. It wasn't 2 people anymore. It wasn't 5 people anymore. So the developer, designer, founder model started to break. We didn't fit into that mold. I wasn't the founder. So in 2012, there were no one-on-ones. There were no managers. That was kind of a dirty word. There were no project managers either. There was nobody to tell you kind of here's what you're doing today, here are your priorities, what you do yesterday. We didn't run Scrum. That's actually a little disingenuous because Colin Brash had a brief stint as a project manager and then went back to development. So 2014, so 2 years later, Intrepid was 30 employees at this time. We had just sold Timber, and I realized that this was 2 years ago, so maybe people don't remember Timber, but Timber was a big part of Intrepid in 2013. Basically, half of my time and half of Mark's time was running this other company. It was an app that we built internally that we raised money for, spun off, and eventually sold. But it was super distracting. We didn't grow as fast in 2013 as in any other year. This is our slowest growth year, just from an internal staff standpoint. We didn't really focus too much on career development or putting scalable stuff in place for Intrepid because so much of our attention was diverted away. And selling Timber, it was motivated in large part by the fact that we were ignoring Intrepid. And there was a big opportunity to grow Intrepid. At that time, management still was basically just a one-on-one with Mark once per quarter. It was coffee. It was how you doing? And here's what I think Intrepid's going to do with it. But there was no career development or any of the kind of working through problems with clients. It was all ad hoc. There was no official management structure. And that's the time when we said, let's scale the shit out of this thing. We had no structure to scale at all. But we sold timber and said, let's grow. We're going to grow. What are the problems that we have to solve in order to grow? And chief among them was management. Management was kind of a dirty word. We didn't have many people with management experience. We all kind of had to learn what it was together. There were some awkward starts and stops in terms of defining what the role was, what the right ceremonies were. Should we do one-on-ones? How often should they be? All those questions. We decided on a matrix structure, which you're all part of now. But what I mean by matrix is it's not kind of by project. It's really by team, and you stick with your manager across different projects. So there's consistency rather than having to change your manager every 2 to 6 months. And also, it's really easy for management to turn into a status report when it's somebody who's on your project. When somebody who's not on your project, it becomes more about personal development and growth and feedback, which is what we want it to be. We have one-on-one. And we implemented the skills matrix. So the skills matrix was kind of a first attempt at describing what are the things you need to do to grow. And we got a lot of questions early on about like, okay, well, what are my goals? Like, what am I actually trying to do? What skills can I improve? What skills do people improve? What are the ways that people better themselves? The skills matrix was the first shot at that. It's a really good personal development tool, and we still use it, and I'll explain how it kind of fits into the picture. The summer of 2015, there was like a critical mass of questions about growth. People, all of a sudden, it felt like at the time, we had just had a new apprentice class, we crossed the 60 people for the first time. It felt like there was a lot of the same questions popping up over and over and over again. They were bubbling up, and different people were answering them in different ways, and it's really important that we address them. So some of those questions, am I going to be doing the same thing forever? Is this job just the same thing forever? What do I have to look forward to? Is there a light at the end? Intrepid's growing really rapidly. Where do I fit in those growth plans? I get that question a lot. I remember having a long conversation with Colin Rapture about that. Can you give me a checklist of things I need to do to be senior? Got that one a lot. And it takes different forms, but just like, hey, just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. Those types of conversations. What's the next step in my career? What's the stepping stone? What's the end game of my career? Where do I want to be, when I'm ready to retire? I remember having 3 or 4 one-on-ones with Ying, talking about what's the end game? What are the different possible end games, and how do I choose which one I want to go with? And I got a lot of, what's this product strategist thing that you're doing now, and how do I do that? Because I want to do that. Because everybody has to do that.
If you figure that out, can you let Justin, Jim, and I know?
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
So conclusion is maybe we should consider titles in the same way that we maybe considered management. Maybe we should try to do something about this. Will Shakespeare quote, once in a name, that which we call a rose by any other name will smell as sweet. So the point of this is that a title does not bestow responsibility or power or respect. It's a reflection, right? It's a reflection of the worth of the people who carry those titles. It's not meant to be like, I gotta wait for this title to do stuff. It's not a magic wand that somebody taps you on the head, or a crown that somebody puts on your head. It's a reflection of reality and a way to set expectations. Another way to think about it is titles are scaffolding. So if we're drawing career arcs and career paths, titles are the things that we hang responsibilities off of. It's a framework. It's a way of thinking about all of the hundreds and hundreds of details and things that you do and experience you gain, and boiling it down to something that's you can reason about in a short amount of time with your manager. So it's scaffolding for being able to think about it. Will a title give me power? Maybe sometimes, but we don't want it to. We want titles to be a reflection of what people are already doing. Will a title give me respect? No. The title will not give me respect. Will a title give me money? At many places, the answer is yes. And I think when people are motivated to have titles, they think about, I want that big promotion and that big pay bump. That model is kind of broken. People add value to companies, and particularly in our arena of mobile development, people gain skills so fast and make themselves so much more valuable in a continuous sort of way that waiting for these arbitrary discontinuities to give big pay bumps is really inefficient, and you're going to lose a lot of people that way. So we explicitly are thinking about decoupling titles from compensation and still doing our raises twice a year, just like we always do. Will a title give me dashing good looks? Yes, yes it will. So our approach to rolling this out. Okay, so I have to explain this, right? So, yeah, you do. If somebody understands it already, I'm going to be really proud of it. So it's an organizational structure with titles and rigidity that is just handed down from up on high in stone tablets that can't change. Feels really bad, man. Feels bad. And it leads to a lot of hurt feelings. I'm so proud. This is my favorite. Taking a day to bestow titles upon the people is really awkward. Why is it awkward? I'll describe. So it creates one moment in time when everybody simultaneously is anxious, and everybody simultaneously looks around and gets competitive, and everybody simultaneously looks around and finds the 5 to 10 to 50 unfair things that are in this bestowing of titles, and it creates a lot of anxiety and unfairness. So when things are unfair, that's like the worst thing you can do to company culture. If you ask people, why they leave jobs or what makes them upset at jobs, it's never work too hard. It's never too many hours. It's never, I think the third example. But most of the time, it's like something was unfair, and that jerk got something he should have gotten, or this person didn't get the promotion they should have gotten, and people get really fired up about that stuff. And it's really damaging to company culture when there's a perception of lopsided praise or unfairness, right? So we didn't want to just create one moment where all that was going to happen simultaneously. Thought that would be dangerous. So what we did instead, we decided to create an RFC. So what's an RFC? It's a request for comment. So it's a document that's like, this is kind of how we think it should work, but tell us how you feel. Maybe it's not quite right. Maybe we shouldn't have titles. Maybe we should think about it differently. Maybe the criteria should be different. Maybe the line should be drawn in different places. We wanted to put this RFC out there and have a year, 15 months of discussion amongst the team between managers and the direct reports to establish hey, I think I fit in here, do you agree? And where there are people who don't quite fit, maybe we need to carve something else out, or maybe we need to change the definition to fit those people. So we wanted to do this over a long period of time, and the goal of this was to have no surprises, so that by the time we actually roll this thing out, nobody's surprised. Everyone already knows what's happening. And you've been talking about it for a year, and you're just ready already. That was the goal, and I think that, I don't take most responsibility for this, but I think that over the last year, we've mentioned this levels document a few times. We've gotten some feedback a few times, and I know the managers are talking about it, but it hasn't been quite as top of mind as we had planned. So having another 3 months to kind of think about it, after we all have this nice kind of alignment about what it is, I think is really valuable. So we do have some more time for feedback about what's in this document, about what we're doing, about is this fair? Are the lines drawn in the right place? Do I fit in the right place? Is my title where I think it should be? All those questions, we have time to answer. In thinking about rolling out titles and career progression, we also want to think about what are the cons? What are the reasons not to do it? What are we giving up by adding a little bit of structure? The first one is that there's really no substitute for experience. And it's the old cliche that everybody hates, which is, how do I get further in my career? Just for a point. Nobody likes hearing that. that's really, really demotivating. The hard truth is, a lot of career advancement is pattern recognition. A lot of career advancement is getting exposed to more stuff, getting exposed to different ways that people handle situations, and being able to apply those lessons to new situations. Everybody is unique. There's no one way to advance a career that works for everybody. So by putting a structure out there, we're evangelizing one way, and it might not work for everybody. So that's something to do. There is subjective evaluation on this career advancement, right? And it's something that you'll talk to your managers about right now. And this perception of unfairness, if there are explicit titles and levels, and you're looking at somebody, you're saying, I'm doing more work than them, or I feel that I'm more valuable, or even just looking at two other people and saying, that doesn't make sense to me. It can create some feelings of unfairness. And I think there's no way around that. And I think we have to be honest with ourselves, and we have to acknowledge that that's going to happen, and that's okay and just natural. It's a part of human nature. But we have to see it for what it is and realize that not everybody has full context on everybody else as people. And trust everybody around us that we're going to try to be as fair as possible. It creates artificial barriers, and in particular, arbitrary delineation between the titles. So, bettering yourself, becoming better at your job, gaining more responsibility. It's a continuous rise, right? There's no actual break. But titles reduces that to an abstraction that is stepped, like the right side. This career path doesn't really reflect reality. And it's inefficient. So you might be progressing almost to the point where you're at the next level, but you don't actually get to the next level. So you got a little bit of time to wait. That's a long time to feel like you're missing out. Right? That's a con. Rigid client requirements. So we don't have titles right now, so it's really easy for us to position people for their skills as opposed to what they're called. Position people what they're good at. And this person is our best UI developer, or this person did this other app, instead of saying, we've got 2 seniors for you, or a senior and a junior. And once we have titles, clients start to be very needy in terms of everybody needs to be senior. And I guarantee you, clients have even less of an idea of what senior is than we do. So it's A, not useful for them to try to dictate who the staff is, and B, arbitrary. Okay, so what are the pros in defense of pros? The first is recognition of achievement. Titles are really motivating, like it or not. Some people are extrinsically motivated. Me, chief among. And what I mean by extrinsically motivated is like motivated by things that happen outside of yourself. Intrinsic motivation is like motivation, you enjoy the process of doing the work, and you get that joy of creating something out of nothing. And lots of people are motivated by that. But other people are more goals driven. Motivated by, I got recognized for doing something awesome, not I did something awesome or creative, but people saw it and they thought it was good. That's how some people are motivated. That's how I'm motivated. Creating titles and these levels is a really great recognition of the achievement that you've had in your career. If you're just a developer for 5 years, and that's kind of what you put on LinkedIn. You might start to feel like, well, I know I'm getting more responsibility and I'm doing more projects and stuff, but it looks really stagnant for me to just have this same title. Clear understanding of expectations. And this kind of goes along with the next point too, which is consistency. We're fairly large now compared to when we were 14 people or 30 people. And we've got lots of different people discussing career path. Having a consistent set of expectations for what people need to do is a way to alleviate the unfairness, right? And also, it's more scalable that way because we have a lot of people who have the same job. Right? At product companies, you might hire a bunch of specialists, and each person has their own individual set of responsibilities. Here, we have a lot of people that really do the same job. So by creating a set of clear expectations for what the career path is for those different jobs, we're able to really effectively, efficiently communicate that to new people and scale more quickly and relieve some of just the intense thought burden on managers to have to create an individualized career plan for every single person. That's not very scalable. Consistency is important too. Like I mentioned, if you have one manager who is really good at career pathing and another manager who just sort of Googles something and doesn't really know, their direct reports are going to have really different experiences, and we don't want who your manager is to dictate your career progression. Another reason is internal transparency. So think about when new people join Intrepid. With no titles, it's hard to know who to go to for help. It's hard to know to go to who's going through your same experience, who's kind of the same level as you. You might want to ask questions of how they're dealing with the same experiences you're going through. So internal transparency is a real benefit. And also for resource planning. As we grow, we just can't know each individual and what all of their strengths, weaknesses, desires, goals, life goals, personal life. We can't know all of that stuff the same way we did when it was 14 people and 9 iOS developers. So for the purposes of resource planning, having a clear idea of what each person has accomplished and is responsible for makes it easier to plan our and external transparency. A big part of that is personal brand. People like to put that title on LinkedIn. People like to talk to their parents, or talk to their friends, or show progression, or put it on their resume for the next thing in their career. It's important to show that growth. That's definitely a benefit. And it's a benefit more to you than it is to Intrepid. But it's important. It's an important part of everybody's life, right? And we're not shy about that. And clients. So clients also have their expectations set with respect to I'm communicating with somebody who ought to be able to do this, or maybe they're not quite ready for this kind of meeting. So it sets expectations better before you even meet the client of how to engage and what people's responsibility is. So compensation and titles. I mentioned this before, but it's important to really talk about it. We are explicitly decoupling compensation from titles. We want compensation to reflect your ability, your value, your experience, your responsibility, right? Titles, like I said before, they're kind of these lines, these realms that we hang these responsibilities off of, what people should be. But they're not perfect, and not everybody's going to fit into that exact mold. So we don't want to make compensation, which is really, really important to everyone, be tied to this thing which is going to change or is potentially not the perfect solution. So how do we go about defining the paths or a particular path? The first thing to note is it's not a checklist. And this is something that actually comes up quite a lot, particularly for new people in the organization. When they're thinking about their career path and how they want to get better, they're asking, what do I need to do? What are the tasks that I need to do? And when I finish that checklist, that's when I'll be senior. That's when I'll achieve X. And it's a little bit, I'll make it a sports analogy. It's a little bit like a baseball player saying, I want to be a major leaguer. Give me the list of things that I need to do to be a major leaguer. And a coach is going to look at them and say, you need to hit 300. That's not a checklist, that's a result. That's a demonstration of ability. All the things that a baseball player needs to do to actually hit 300, work on their batting stance, put in tons of time, practice. It's different for every single major leaguer, right? But by the time you actually achieve that goal and you can hit 300, and you're a major leaguer. So titles and seniority are kind of like that. And another way to say that is results, not tasks. Like there's no set of things that you can do. in a finite amount of time. Just by nature of doing them, you have achieved career progression. You have to get something out of doing tasks. You have to achieve a result because you did some tasks. So, do we still need the skills matrix? Do we have too many tools solving the same problem? And I think we do. So the skills matrix is a really good distillation of all of those results, all of those behaviors, all of those observable things that people do as they progress through careers. So that matrix that has 81 boxes filled in, every one of those 81 boxes is a result, is a behavior, is a thing you can strive to do. So I still think it's a very valuable tool, and it's correlated with levels. The further you are along in the skills matrix, the more responsibility you ought to have, and the greater title you ought to have. So they're correlated, but there is no formula, and it's important to understand that. So a lot of engineers in this company, when we first looked at the skills matrix, it's like, oh, maybe we'll just tie titles to the skills matrix, and if you add up all of your rows and they come to 38, then you're senior. But it doesn't quite work like that. A, because there's still some subjectivity in the skills matrix. It's a personal development tool, and we don't want to make quibbles between how many times do you have to do this box before you have achieved it. So we really can't just fix it to it. But there are guidelines, right? And at the beginning of the skills matrix, it's more junior. In the middle, it's becoming senior, and at the end, it's like successful career. So it's still a valuable tool, and it still correlates, and I'll show you how it fits into how we work on that. So I want to talk about ability, experience, and responsibility. Ability is kind of innate traits that each person has. Experience is the collection of things that you've done. And responsibility is the things you're on the hook for. So title is the last two. Title is a reflection of things you've done and the things you're expected to do in the future. It's not so much about innate ability. It's important to realize that. Compensation, on the other hand, is all three of those. The innate ability, the experience that you've had, and the responsibilities we're asking you to do. I know I'm rushing, but there's a lot to get through, and I want to have lots of time for questions. So the way we defined each of the levels was each level has a set of responsibilities and some focus areas. So when we were crafting new rows in the skills matrix, one of the patterns we noticed was there's kind of these themes as you go from left to right each row of the skills matrix. And kind of early on, the theme's different than at the end. So each one of the levels just calls out what that theme is across all the different kinds of skills. What is the overarching theme there? So I'm going to go through the engineering path, and we have designer path, PM path, soon QA path. I'm just going to use this as a straw man to show you kind of what's here. Also, I'm the most familiar with it, so it helps. But I think we do need to do another lecture for the design team and for the PM team individually, so that everyone's kind of clear on individual levels and how they stand today. And again, this is a living document, and if there's feedback, if it doesn't make sense, if you don't feel like you fit in, if you feel like something's unfair, you don't think we should have titles at all, we want to hear about it. And our minds are open. Nothing is set in stone. And even after we roll this out, nothing is set in stone. It's important to know. So the career path for engineers. When we were designing it, one of the things we really wanted to do was to make sure that there was room for both people who wanted to be quote-unquote people wranglers, managers, etc., and individual contributors who wanted to focus on their craft, who wanted to be the best they possibly could be at that, and people who want to solve those really hard problems. So there's kind of an explicit split at the end of this career path, but I've drawn that kind of funnel because everyone's arc, even when you're Dev 1, Dev 2, or Senior, you may skew one way or the other, and you don't need to make a choice. No one's saying you can't switch your choice. People change. But it's important to know that they're both kind of equal, right? There's no better compensation through management. There's no greater recognition from management. And I know management oftentimes, just in our culture, is a very prestigious thing. And it's often actually something that we've struggled here at Intrepid. How do we make management, a responsibility, not the responsibility? We've thought about that a lot, and maybe we haven't done a great job sometimes. We've done a great job other times, but it is something that we feel is important to try to strive for. That's reflected in kind of this group. So each of the levels. So this is apprentice. What are your responsibilities as an apprentice? You're going to learn, observe, and absorb Intrepid's culture, our processes, and our best practices. So education. Your focus area is professionalism. To get to the next level, you've got to be a professional software developer. We've got to be able to bill out your time. Clients have to be able to count on you. The team has to be able to count on you. So we have apprentices from all different walks of life. And maybe this is a little more tailored towards people who are just out of college or professionalism is a real focus area. If you look at the skills matrix, the things that are in those boxes in the 1 to 2 area, they really do focus on professionalism. Dev 1. So Dev 1, after graduating the apprentice program, your responsibilities here are just to make meaningful contributions, successful contributions to client projects. And the focus area here is productivity and quality. So really focusing on the skills that are new skills. You're flexing your software development muscles for the first time. It's contributing to client work is your main responsibility. And if you look at the skills matrix, you start to go into that third tier, maybe for a couple. I'm not saying that all of your skills are there, I'm saying maybe a couple of skills. Dev 2. So after you are really productive and you're consistently producing high quality software, now maybe you have an opportunity to lead a project, a small project, and start to mentor some other new folks and have more client interaction. And you can talk more intelligently about the different problems that you've seen in the past, the different ways to tackle your problems, and help assess the client's problems or challenges. The focus area here is autonomy. So where you're just focused on you as a dev one, just like being a good software developer, producing great stuff. Here it's producing great stuff, but doing it autonomously and not leaning so heavily on more senior people, and being the people that being the person that is leaned on by more. Making decisions about architecture, about how to divide up tasks, about which library to use, and being able to make those decisions by yourself is a big part of it. And again, skills matrix just moves up. Senior. So as a senior, you should be able to lead any project that comes to your and senior is kind of special because you take on an additional responsibility that is explicit. And for some people it might be sales, for other people it might be management, for other people it might be IT, or build automation, or test evangelizing, whatever happens to be. And the focus area here is leverage. Leverage essentially is being able to take the people who are working with you and make them better. And take all the knowledge that you have and all the experience that you have and take action through other people. That's what leverage is. So a director. So responsibilities as a director, you've got to improve department performance, you might own goals or metrics, and you're a point of escalation for the team. Your focus area there is leadership. So you are somebody who's a role model, you're somebody who's very visible, you're somebody who needs to be seen as a leader and rallies the team, and somebody that people want to work for. And principal, very similar in terms of level, they're kind of equal. And both the principal and the director want to improve department performance. They both share that responsibility. A principal, more towards the individual contributor side, might solve capitally charged problems. And what I mean by that is problems that really have never been solved before. Problems that take a particular expertise or diving into some research. And really being somebody who can be counted upon by the rest of the team to help solve those problems. Also escalation through the team in the same way that directors are. The focus area for them is also leadership. There's the same area of the skills matrix that principals and directors share. However, they might have different distribution, different skills. They're going to be 6s versus 4s versus 3s between principals. Okay, that was a lot to digest. I know there's going to be a lot of questions, and maybe you're not comfortable asking those questions here. That's totally fine. You can ask those questions of your manager. You can ask them of me. You can Slack me. You can email me. But if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. Yes?
So what's the deal with isn't there somebody joining us in a couple of months who's going to be doing something with this?
So Jessica Olson, she is joining us in August. She is our new VP of People, and her responsibilities include talent management, career growth, and organizational development. So all of this stuff, she will own this. And she will take this and assess it, maybe iterate on it the same way that I'm asking all of you to iterate on it. And ultimately, she will own the definition and rolling out of any sort of title. It won't be me. Harold.
So, just to follow up on that, because I'm still not clear on it. So, as far as like career growth, I assume that would be with your manager, right? Because they're the ones that are kind of like,
Jessica owns the system.
All right.
As far as individual people's actual title or career progression, that's with your manager.
Right.
Jessica owns how does Intrepid approach it. Yeah.
Are there going to be tracks for smaller teams, like recruiting or operation or sales?
TBD. So one of the major reasons for having these very explicit tracks is we hire a ton of software developers, a ton of designers, and so we need to have this repeatable thing. And if we don't hire a ton of office managers or a ton of recruiters, it makes a little less sense. But I think it's important for managers to still define career paths, but it'll be more of an individual development path, be more personal and less kind of trying to fit into a scalable structure. Yeah.
Sorry if you already said this and I couldn't hear you. But when do promotions happen between these titles?
So that's actually still up for debate, and I would really like to hear what you guys think. So they're in the document itself, which I will share again. You all have it. But, it outlines two possibilities for that. One is kind of just continuous, where your manager is responsible for nominating you for a promotion at any time, and you get a promotion, and that's that. The other is like with the raise cadence, just doing them all there, just for efficiency's sake, to have a clear time to think about it as opposed to all the time. Yes?
I have a question for the management side. How does that progress over time? So, for example, if I'm managing level 2s, for example, and those level 2s then become senior, do I get a new group of managers, or how that?
So the question is, if you're a manager and your people level up and join you in your same level, what happens? And at this point, it's case by case. We've actually had that happen quite a bit on the engineering team. And sometimes we've juggled, and other times we haven't. It really depends on the individuals. And we don't want to have hard and fast rules necessarily there. We want to do what's right for people, and if there's a really great manager-direct report relationship, we don't want to blow it up because of some rule. But we also want to do what's right for somebody's career path. If somebody is progressing really fast and they want to do something slightly different, we want to have them reporting to the right person to give them the opportunity to do those things and lean on somebody more senior people. Yeah.
How have we handled clients requesting a senior person in the past, and how will that change?
How have we handled clients requesting senior in the past, and how will we handle it in the future? So in the past, we've just called people senior when we think they can handle it. It's not the greatest solution in the world, but honestly, it's a reason why we've been able to grow, and it's a reason why people who were here particularly early on were put in situations where they had to grow, sink or swim, right? And luckily we swam. And I think something that Mark and I really appreciate about Intrepid is we're not afraid to put people who we're not perfectly confident that they're going to nail it 100%, but they're just ready enough where they can be put in a situation where they're going to stretch themselves, and that's where real growth happens, and we don't want to lose that. So I think that's really important.
But like now that
there actually are senior titles, I don't know.
Use that opportunity to call someone senior.
Maybe. And we're also kind of undecided as to, I think we probably want, on LinkedIn, I don't know what titles you all put on your LinkedIn right now. It's probably arbitrary. I know Anton's is kind of funny. I think we are okay with that. It doesn't have to be a perfect external picture of exactly the titles that we give them. So, as long as it's within reason and closely mentioned, none of you take CTO from me, then I think we're okay. Right.
Are we going to have these titles also match up with job postings and that sort of thing? Are we going to start to hire for Dev 1s, Dev 2s, seniors specifically, and then have that match up? I don't know if we want to.
That's a good question. And actually, Dre and I haven't really talked about this.
We hire.
Yeah. So will job recs that we post have these specific titles on them? And I don't know. I think there's some scalability advantage to that. But also, like, the point of a job rec is not to perfectly describe the candidate. It's a net, not a filter. You want to make sure that you can get anybody who might be suited for the job. And we have such a great recruiting team that's going to whittle it down to just the good people that we're okay with casting a wide net. So we don't need it to be too specific.
Kind of on that same point, are we going to start doing like more internal posting of recs before we go external?
Yes, I think we're at the point now where it used to be we just knew if somebody wanted a job. We would always just sort of look and say, hey, who might be suitable for this internal? And we go through the mental Rolodex and say, yes, there's somebody, or no, there isn't somebody, because we knew everybody so intimately. As we grow, that stops happening. So yeah, I think we will do a lot more of internal posting of recs before we open positions. We just did that with the sales marketers. Yeah.
So right now there's sort of a limited number of directors, right? We've got a director of each team. So it seems like there's potentially like a long period. Sorry.
Bottleneck.
Yeah, a bottleneck. So are there things that you're thinking about that are sort of like different areas of expertise that you're directors on, or just as we grow and have more offices and that sort of thing, we just have more back-end teams or more,
Yeah. So the question is, it seems like the director position is a finite number of spots, and maybe a bottleneck there. How are we thinking about horizontal growth there? And actually, we just came across this because Colin Rash was promoted to director, and before that, we had these very distinct iOS, Android, backend. We don't have another platform for Colin to take over. So what do? Do we just tell Colin, hey, see, there's no room for you as a director. We don't want to hang out with you anymore. We decided no, that's not what we wanted to do. We want to say, okay, what's Colin good at? What does Colin want to achieve in his career? Let's find a position that is valuable to Intrepid. In this case, Director of Engineering Management. So thinking about stuff like career path and what goes into this particular document. And working with Jessica to have a technical voice in the room when we're talking about these things. And having somebody for managers to go to ask questions about applying this career path. So it's a position that's valuable for Intrepid. It's a position that Colin wanted. And it's definitely deserving of a directorial title. So in those situations, I think it's more of an individualized case, particularly towards the right side of that chart about what your responsibilities in particular are. Other questions?
There was that slide with ability, experience, and results. Right? Responsibility and results. So a lot of that sort of can come from situations that you're placed into. So like how do we deal with growth when one factor in it may be the project that you're on or what team you're on?
So the question is, how do we deal with, I I just haven't been given the opportunity to demonstrate my ability to get that experience. This is a tricky one, particularly in a consulting environment. And I think that it's one of the reasons why we don't tie compensation to the skills matrix, because that would feel very unfair. Somebody working on this project where they get an opportunity to work on all these skills, and I'm working on this project for 12 months and I don't have that opportunity, we don't want to tie compensation to that. We want compensation to be decoupled. Titles, on the other hand, are a little bit tricky. And if a particular kind of experience is valuable to you, it's really important to communicate that to your manager so that during the resource planning process, for which managers have a strong voice, they know to subtly shift and swing the pendulum in the direction of the experiences that you want to have. Now, we can't be perfect. We can't make everyone's wishes come true simultaneously. But we do the best we can. We try to socialize new projects as they come, and take people's temperature about what are the kinds of experiences that you want to have. We try to optimize, the resource planning process, we optimize for three things. Intrepid's robustness and profit, clients' happiness and success, and team's happiness and success. And all three of those need to kind of be equal lengths of the story.
Do you see director and principal as essentially being an end state? You basically get to that point and there's not really a different answer past that.
No, we have not defined what's above director, other than CEO and CTO.
Which are filled.
I think we will, and we just haven't gotten there yet. I think that's probably in the 6 months to a year time frame, defining what a VP level is. We just hired in from the outside our first VP title, and we didn't do a great job of socializing to the company. What does VP even mean? And I think that's one of Mark's next lectures, actually, of talking about these two new hires and how that differs from director.
You guys get a VP of sales?
We did. James, our VP of sales, is starting 2 weeks. He was at the apprentice drinks, if anybody met James, tall guy. Other questions? Yes?
When I came on, one thing that was told to me repeatedly is how flexible this was as an organization. If something didn't work, then it was set aside. Is that the feeling towards this?
Absolutely. This is not stone tablets from up on high.
Right.
This is a living document that, even when we roll it out, is subject to change based on feedback. This is your company. This is your career path. This isn't mine. So it's important that everybody has a voice and talks about where it's not working. Exposes the warts, so to speak.
Yeah.
Gross. Yeah. Other questions? All right, finished in under an hour. Thanks, guys.